So today's video is going to be all about the calorie deficit. So I've mentioned numerous times now that to lose weight you need to be following the weight loss principle, which is basically consuming fewer calories than your body needs. Now it's very easy to say that, it's more difficult to actually be in a calorie deficit. So I'd just like to go over in this video a bit more visually how you can do that, different ways and how you can measure it. So if you just follow me over here, we'll get right into the video. Oops, so just before I start, I'd like to just pop up on screen what a calorie deficit looks like. So just visually with a graph. So if you need this many calories, a calorie deficit is basically under that amount. So the thing I'm about to explain is how can you be under that amount and be in this deficit to lose weight. So yeah, let's get into the video. So what we have here is what I like to call the calorie deficit scale. So on the left here we have the less precise but easier methods, and on the right we have the more precise but harder methods. And just because it's more precise doesn't mean it's better, and just because it's less precise does not mean it's worse. It just depends on what you've done in the past with your dieting, what you understand, what's been working for you, and basically how long you've been dieting for as well. So on the right we have methods that are more kind of counting, and on the left we have methods that are more kind of just changing things. And because we're counting things on the right, we're a bit more aware of whether we are in a calorie deficit or not, and on the left it's a bit more guesswork and kind of blind to the fact. So it's kind of like this. So on the left you're kind of blind to it, you're guessing, you're not quite sure, but if you're seeing results, that's great. And on the right you're counting things, so you know if you're in a calorie deficit or not. So like I said, it's a bit more precise and you're fully aware, you're not blind, it's not blurred out or anything. So I'd just like to quickly go through the scale starting from the left. So a really easy thing to do to be possibly in a calorie deficit, like I said, these ones are kind of guessing and blind to it, you don't know, but could help you be in a calorie deficit, would be eating healthier, so just including more fruit and vegetables in your day. Another one could be food swaps, so swapping, this is an example, swapping spaghetti for courgette, so that's made from courgette. So what you're doing there is just reducing calories. And another one might be to take out liquid calories. So liquid calories are very easy to consume, you can consume them fast, and they don't really fill you up. So you're often over consume on liquid calories, so just taking them out or swapping them for diet drinks can have an effect. It can put you in a calorie deficit. Replacing a meal with a shake, a weight loss shake or a protein shake. So meals often are quite big in terms of calories. So say you have a 500 or 600 calorie meal, replacing it with a shake that has 300 calories can reduce your calories and help you be in a calorie deficit. Eating protein with every meal keeps you full and helps reduce cravings, helps reduce hunger, so you end up eating less, so it can help you be in a calorie deficit. Measuring your cooking oils. If you cook with oils, it could be anything from sunflower to coconut oil to olive oil. Oils add up, they got a lot of calories in them, so if you measure them, you can make sure you are just being aware of how much you're using and not overusing them. That can help you be in a calorie deficit. Eating whole food sources. So eating whole food sources can cut out just junk food, which can help you be in a calorie deficit. Going on a particular diet that might be high fat or low fat. So a high fat diet would mean you have to cut out things with carbohydrates in them. So that would mean usually anything that's junk food, so pizza, chocolate, cake, cookies, ice cream. So you're cutting out calories, so it helps you be in a calorie deficit. The same with the low fat. So you can't eat things with fat in them, so it applies to the same thing. You don't eat junk food because junk food has lots of carbs and lots of fat. So it means you're cutting out, ice cream, cake, cookies, things like that. So it helps reduce your calories and helps you be in a calorie deficit. Now, if I can get across here, come on. There we go. So following a caveman diet, so that would just be eating natural things that's similar to whole food sources. So that can help you be in a calorie deficit because they didn't have processed foods in the caveman era. Fasting. So fasting can help you in various ways. It can help you save calories. There's nothing magic with it. It can help you save calories from certain parts of the day where you want to eat more in other parts of the day. So if you're going out for a meal in the evening and wanted to eat 1,000 calories, you could just skip a few meals at the beginning of the day and save those calories up. So it helps you be in a calorie deficit through things like that. It can also help you tune into hunger and realize that hunger is not going to kill you. So as soon as you feel a hunger twang, you don't need to eat anymore. You don't have that feeling of, oh, I need to eat. And it helps you stick to your diet. Now moving across the middle, we go into counting a few things. So you might get common diets like Slimming World or Weight Watchers where you count points and sins. This kind of starts to, like I said, count things so you know how much you're eating a bit more. We've got eyeing food portions or using your hands to measure things. So say you were making a meal, you'd use your hand to make a protein sort of size portion with looking at your palm. You'd use different parts of your hand, so your thumb to measure fats. You'd use a cupped hand to measure grains and a fist or two to measure vegetables. We've got weighing food. So you don't necessarily need to count it, but just weighing it out. So if you have your breakfast in the morning, you'd weigh the same amount every day. So you know you're being consistent. Same with everything in the day. You'd put things onto the scale just to know how consistent you're being. And like I said before, these things don't necessarily work for everyone. So if you're out and about a lot, it's difficult to weigh your food. Now we get into more counting here. So we got protein counting. So this is where you just make sure you're eating more protein in your day. So you count how much protein you're eating. So you could be weighing it, or you could be eyeing it, or using your hand to measure, but just being more aware. Then we've got calorie counting. So actually putting the amount of calories you're counting into an app like MyFitnessPal and counting them. And then we've got calorie and protein counting. So making sure you're consuming fewer calories than your body needs, but also within those calories eating enough protein. And then at the end, we've got macronutrient counting. So that would be eating the right amount of calories, but also the right amount of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So I hope that makes sense. This side is a lot less precise, but easier. And this side is a lot more precise, but a bit harder. So if you were to start a diet, a lot of people jump straight into counting their proteins, fats, and carbs. And it's very hard because they've not done it before. It's precise and you can be accurate. But because it's hard, they end up giving up very quickly. When what they could have done is started at this end and just started eating healthier, including more vegetables. Like I said, it depends on where you are in your dieting process. If you've been dieting for a while, if you eat quite healthily or low calories anyway, then you might need to start a bit further down here. You might need to be counting. But if you can lose weight just by being very imprecise, just eating healthier, then that's great. You don't need to think about it much. But as you start to maybe plateau or things start to work less for you, you can start moving down the scale, start doing different things. So you might start eating healthier and you might lose weight for a while, but then your results might start to slow. So you might do something like swap a few foods around. So instead of having pasta or spaghetti, have vegetable versions like courgette. Or you might think about including more protein with each meal, be a bit more precise with that. Or measuring your cooking oils, things like that. And then coming down the scale. And it depends on what type of person you are, because some people enjoy counting. And so they might want to start a bit further down this scale. Remember, like I said, if you are out and about, you might not be able to weigh your food all the time, but you might be able to scan the calories into the MyFitnessPal app, which has a barcode scanner. So different things work for different people. Also, we need to think about the conscious and unconscious mind. When you start something new, it becomes conscious. You have to think about it a lot. And so it's difficult. So you don't want to make it really overwhelming. So that's why eating healthier is an easy option, because you don't need to think about it much. If you jump straight into counting calories, it's basically your whole day counting calories and logging it and weighing food and things like that. And it can become very overwhelming, and it makes you give up a lot quicker. So that's why I said it's much better, if you haven't done much before, to start this side of the scale. And it depends on, again, what type of person you are, because if you don't like counting things, you're always going to be better off on this side of the scale and do what we call intuitive eating, where you eat where you're hungry and eat healthily, include lots of protein, lots of vegetables, and that can often, even though you don't know, make you be in a calorie deficit and be losing weight. So I always say as well, when you're losing weight, it's not actually weight you want to lose, it's fat. So you want to look smaller rather than weigh less on the scale. So you need to be measuring it in certain ways as well. So yes, you can use a scale, but also use tape measurements around your waist and different parts of your body, but also take progress photos. That can help you know whether you are in a calorie deficit and losing weight, losing fat. Because on this side, like I said, you can be sometimes blind to the fact whether you're in a calorie deficit or not. You don't know. On this side, you know because you're counting it. On this side, you're guessing more. So you're just hopeful. But it's a lot easier. So it's where I say to start for most people. So just to summarize, these are all ways of reducing calories. On the right, it's a bit more precise and you know whether you're in a calorie deficit or not. On the left, it's less precise. And you're not always sure, but it's a lot easier than counting, especially for some people. But this side works just as well as this side. So I often get people to start at this end of the scale and just work down it as they become more used to dieting and want to be more precise. So this end doesn't necessarily need to be hard. When it becomes natural, it's easy. I often eat like this, so I will weigh my food before I cook it. I just quickly weigh it takes a few seconds, then I'll log it on MyFitnessPal. And it doesn't even need to be at the time. I often do it at the end of the day. And I know if I've got calories left over, I can enjoy things. That's a good point, actually. If you know you're in a calorie deficit, or if you know you're eating within your calorie needs, you can enjoy things more because you can eat things that might not necessarily be classed as healthy food. But if it's within your calorie needs, you can enjoy it and you can still lose weight while being precise and knowing you're in a calorie deficit eating these things. Being more at this end as well, you can know where you're going wrong because as you're counting things, you can see, oh yeah, I've eaten more on this day, that's why I'm not losing weight. Whereas on this side, you might not know because you're not counting things. Like I said again, it's a bit more blind, you're guessing. And so that's why sometimes you have to work towards this end of the scale and just to be more precise so you know where you might be going wrong. And also just to make the point, I've grouped them like this just generally. Like I said, these are the guessing ones and these are the measuring ones. They don't necessarily need to be at this point on the scale. I've just had to sort of make a decision, say this one is here or this one is here. This one could be around here or swapping around. It doesn't necessarily, they're not fixed. So you don't need to kind of, if you are following something like this, go from healthy eating to food swaps. You could go from healthy eating to eating a low-fat diet or intermittent fasting. So you don't need to follow one by one on the scale. And also I've missed things off. There's loads of ways, there's loads of methods to reduce your calories. These are just options that you could use. As you know, there's thousands of diets out there that help you reduce your calories in different ways through counting or cutting things out. They're just not necessarily all good ways. And that's another point. Not all these are like good ways. Some ways work better than others for some people. I often like fasting when I'm trying to lose weight, but I also like counting calories at the same time. And if I think about it, I'm mixing a lot of these things in and swapping foods. I'm eating healthier. Sometimes I have a protein shake. Sometimes I take out liquid calories. Quite often I eat protein with every meal. I try and eat whole foods. I try and reduce fat. I'm eyeing portions sometimes. I'm eating within the macronutrient needs as well. So you start moving down the scale but incorporating everything together. So that's about it, guys. So on the left we have guessing, and on the right we have more measuring. Like I said, start on the left, start out with that, see how that goes for you. If you start to not get results, move down, start to incorporate different things. You can jump. It's just going to be harder at this side. And if you're not used to doing it, if it's not unconscious, if it's not natural yet, then you might be less consistent and you might get worse results with this side than you would get with this side. So start doing something, do it for a while, do it well, and see what results you get. So that's the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made sense. Like, share and comment as always, and I'll see you in the next one.